Howdy, partner. Welcome to Texas Motor Speedway. Got my Beretta 6-shooter here. Got my hat on. We're ready for an old-fashioned Texas shootout. See, this here's qualifying for the Busch race on Saturday. A big old shootout here. And it's next on Speed. Let's get 'em, partner.
Welcome to the Texas Motor Speedway. Speed Channel presents Busch 4 qualifying for the O'Reilly 300. And it is a beautiful day here in Fort Worth, Texas. And a lot of storylines to follow, but Larry Mack, after 2 weeks ago, a bump and gouge affair at Thunder Valley, Bristol Motor Speedway, a great off weekend for these guys, and now they come to one of the fastest racetracks on the entire circuit. So what do you look at? Who's the guy you're going to have to beat for the pole? Who is the guy that's going to be the speed master today?
Well, first, I'm still at a loss for words for Dick Bergman on that opening right there. But, yeah, this is the fastest racetrack on the circuit for the Busch Series and the Cup cars as well. We're going to see speeds, especially late in the sessions, over 190 miles per hour, and that's average. And I think because of those speeds, a lot of teams are struggling. And I think the biggest thing, they're not very happy with their cars, but I think even after 7 races with only a 2-hour practice session, a lot of these teams are still struggling with the fact, do I work on race? Do I work on qualifying? Do I work on both? What do I do?
Au contraire, my friend. I hate to tell you this right now. There are a few people that are happy down in that garage area, and they happen to be some of the veterans. I mean, we take a look at the top of the speed charts right now. Shane Mill has put down some fast times, but everybody is telling me, look at the veterans right now. Mark Martin, along with Tony Stewart, those are the 2 cars that everybody feels like they really need to work on trying to beat. They say Mark Martin is literally flying through the corner. Several drivers said they jumped out behind him during the course of practice and said, man, that cat's running through the corner wide open. I can't do that. All it comes back down to, I believe, is experience and knowing what you need to do at this racetrack to kind of get the feel for it. And don't forget, he has had the ability to win this year. 2, as a matter of fact.
Out of 2.
Out of 2.
And he's won here 3 times. And now let's go down to the grid. And although he left Trigger at home, let's catch up with Steve Burns.
Yeah, Dick Berger's got a cowboy hat. Jeff Hammond's doing French. So we'll just get into the Mark Martin story. As you said, Matt, he's got 3 wins on this racetrack, 47 Busch Series win for his career. Mark Martin is without a doubt the favorite here at the Texas Motor Speedway, and in practice, as Jeff Hammond alluded to, second quickest. The only one quicker was Shane Mill.
Well, everything is big here in Texas, including Mark Martin's resume here on this 1.5-mile oval. And a big weekend across the Fox family of networks beginning tomorrow. Line it up, 3 p.m. Eastern time, next to Cup Series qualifying, and then 8 p.m. the Crown Royal IROC Series takes the Texas track last year. Daniel Lasowski, big win. Then Saturday, Nextel Cup final practice over on FX, 1 p.m. Then the O'Reilly 300 presented by Mr. Clean Auto Dry at 2 p.m. Eastern. Then Sunday morning, 11 a.m. NASCAR this morning. Then we kick it off on the big and bodacious Fox, 12:30 Eastern time. Then close out the day at 8 p.m. with NASCAR Victory Lane on Speed. Back in Fort Worth, Texas, NASCAR Busch Series qualifying live on the Speed Channel. 47 cars practice today on the grid, preparing to take their qualifying lap to try to make the O'Reilly 300 for Saturday. And the first out, Brent Sherman in the 58 car.
Now, he is a go-or-go-home car. This team is 35th in owner points. This team actually has a new owner that took over back after Las Vegas, Scott Glenn, and then Steve Plattenberger is the acting crew chief and general manager for this car. This car struggled in practice, only 44th quickest, Jeff.
Well, a lot of times that's what happens when you get to come to racetracks like this and you've got kind of a fairly new group. This racetrack's really difficult. You're not used to going fast and hitting your marks and understanding what it takes to get around this racetrack. It's an intimidating racetrack because of the speed. And guys, I was getting ready to say, hey, that car is sponsored by Chris Myers.
Consort Hairspray. I think this is about a 3 or 4 race deal for this car this year.
I think he's got a personal services contract.
Yeah.
Well, let's go down to the grid with Dick, who's caught up with Tony Stewart.
Yeah, he's a guy that's not intimidated by this place at all. Tony Stewart, you got a good hot rod, good enough for the pole this afternoon?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, we were really good in race trim. We switched it over to the qualifying setup, and you know, with the impound, we didn't go any faster in qualifying trim than we did in race trim. So really excited about what this car should do in the race, but not sure I'm going to have a car that's going to be good enough for the pole today.
Well, he's run Indy cars here, he's run Busch cars here, and he's run Cup cars here. We'll see if he can win the pole with this one.
Brent Sherman's time, 29.681 seconds.
Now, that's quite a pickup from what he ran in practice, but I still think that's going to be very, very borderline. I think to be real safe, you should probably need to run in maybe the low to mid 29, so we'll just have to see. We have 47 cars here. Remember, the top 30 in owner points are locked in, so we have 17 cars going after 13 positions.
And another interesting point is we're going to kind of have to watch how track temperature goes here. A lot of cars that are going late today, will they get the benefit? I mean, cooling off, because we are in Texas and things are kind of warm here today as we take a look at Casey Kane in the 38 car, who is on the track right now.
I spoke to Casey during practice. I walked by the car, and the whole right side of the car was pancaked. And I said, what happened? He said, I was coming off of turn 4, and it just had such a wicked push. It wouldn't turn. I backed out of the throttle, and it still pushed up, hit the wall, crushed in the crush panels a little bit, but he said it wasn't that bad.
Well, watch him right here. Watch how close you run up against the wall right there where you were talking about, Matthew. You carry so much speed off the corner, you almost run out of racetrack. But Jeff, to follow up, you see right here in turn 1 and 2 how much that racetrack is already in shade.
Already in shade. And right now, he's got a little wisp of smoke coming off that car off. He's got a tire rubbing right now, Larry. Still from that damage earlier today, but it doesn't seem like it's affected him too much.
Well, he was 12th quickest in practice, but I think what happens, Jeff, is this race car did not get a lot of practice because of that damage that Matt talked about. I don't know that they ever made a qualifying run, and when you put that tape on the nose and you enter the corner a lot faster than you did in practice, the car's going to travel more.
Second lap was better for Casey Kane, 29.07 seconds. Now, when you look back to last year, Larry, he has to have so much confidence coming back here. This is his kind of racetrack. He almost won the Nextel Cup race. So even though he didn't get all the practice that he wanted, confidence-wise, he's got to be pretty much up there on the scale.
There is no question. I mean, he did everything a year ago in the Nextel Cup race but win the race. That photo finish with Elliott Sadler there coming off the last corner of the last lap.
And not to mention, had a pretty strong run last weekend in the Cup race at Martinsville. So again, if you think about confidence when you come into a racetrack, last year combined with last week, it's not a too bad of combination if you ask me.
I don't think he'll be real excited about that qualifying lap as we watch David Stremme, because Casey Kane in the 38 actually slowed down a little bit in practice.
Stremme is solid year so far. He's 11th in the championship standings, qualified 12th at Bristol, but did not finish due to an accident.
David was 28th quickest in practice, and every week when we do Busch qualifying, we talk about, unlike the Cup cars, the Busch cars, it's mandatory. You have to qualify on brand new sticker tires, but NASCAR did let the teams go out and scuff their qualifying tires if they wanted to, and a lot of teams did like to go out, put a little time on them. I talked to Ashton Lewis. He said it just felt like the car was down in the racetrack more when I actually put a little time on the tires.
His first lap just about mirrors what he practiced at, guys. It'll be interesting to see here if anybody can pick up just a little bit on the second lap.
He does.
He does.
He's up about a 10. So Stremme second quick so far behind Casey Kane.
Talked to David in the garage area earlier. He said they just, if they can ever get caught up to the standpoint of where they can do a little bit of testing, that maybe they can make some gains, especially at the higher speed racetracks. But it's tough to catch up when you've been doing what these Busch teams have been doing 7 weeks in a row before finally getting an off weekend last weekend.
You know, I talked to Howard Shipwash, the engine tuner on the 5 car that Blake Feast will be driving today. And he said, you know, when we got back from the West Coast trips, the week of Atlanta, I sat down and did my hours, and he said I figured out that from the time they left to go to Daytona until the time they got back the week of Atlanta, he'd been home a total of 70 hours.
I don't
Not very long
at all.
Welcome to the world of auto racing, guys.
Jeremy Mayfield piloting the 6 car for Ray Evernham this week.
And I got a chance to talk to Jeremy as well as Ray Evernham earlier today, and they were pretty much all smiles around this 6 car. Pretty happy with the way things were working, and again, maybe not quite as fast as Mark Martin, but they were pretty confident making the right kind of changes. And you talk about trying to save time and save money and save people. We've got a lot of the Winston Cup, I'm not saying Winston Cup, Nextel Cup crew working on this Busch car today that will be working on their regular job as far as a Cup race car. Tomorrow, they left all the rest of the Busch guys back at the shop right now to work and try to get caught up. Everybody feels like they're still a little bit behind.
And the reason they can do that, Jeff, these are the last laps that these cars will see until they drop the green flag on Saturday. The Busch garage is actually closed tomorrow.
And he's the fastest man so far here in Texas, 28.96 seconds to Casey Kane's 29 flat.
That's close to the area that he ran in practice, and he actually picks it up a little more, so he mirrored what he ran in practice. So Jeremy goes to the top of the charts.
And he's our fast man here in Texas, is Jeremy Mayfield. Will try to make his first NASCAR Busch Series start ever right here at the Texas Motor Speedway. NASCAR Nation on speed. In the studio or on location, the big names and the rising stars. These are the faces of NASCAR. Declare your citizenship to NASCAR Nation Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. exclusively on Speed. And a while away, Jerry Robertson, who qualified 24th at Nashville last month, turned in a pretty decent time. He's currently third, while Tony Stewart and the Delana and Kevin Harvick cars on the racetrack preparing to make his attempt at qualifying for Texas.
Be interesting to see whether or not a few adjustments. When I talked to Butch Hilton, the crew chief on this car, they were going to do for qualifying, and he said, I'm not really going to worry about it, guys. We've got a really strong race car. I'm not going to worry too much about where we qualify at, especially with Tony Stewart driving my race car.
He'll be pretty happy with that. 28.78. He goes to the top of the charts. And just go back, that's a great run for Jerry Robertson. You just mentioned, Matt, in the 78 car. I think that'll put him in the show, but Tony's got a fast race car, it looks like, too.
To me, it's amazing how you can take a race setup, tune around it just a little bit, and be able to do what he does regularly as he picks up 2 more tenths on the second lap. But I mean, that's an indication he's got a bad, fast race car. Steve Burns.
Jeff, we caught up with Casey Kane. Casey, you slowed down just a little bit for practice. Tell us about your lap.
Well, we were just about coil bound in practice, and right there I was coil bound on the left front, so it's kind of bouncing around and just moved up the track. Wasn't too good of a lap, but you know, it'll be all right for the Great Clips car. I think we'll be better on Saturday, and I think Shane Meal's going to be the guy to beat today. He's going out last, so the track should be a lot better when he goes out and see what he can do.
Thanks, Casey. We go to Dick Berggren.
Well, here's a guy that's going to be tough to beat in qualifying, Joe Nemechek, but he comes to this racetrack with a heavy heart. His grandfather, 91 years old, passed away this week. How tough is it for you to come to the racetrack, Joe?
Well, it's, you know, this is my job to come here and do that. And, you know, we're going to miss my grandpa and my mom and my sister and all the relation there. Been taking care of them. So, you know, we're just going to miss it. It's a tough thing losing anybody in the family. But this weekend, I'm here to win. This is Texas. It's a mile and a half. It's fast. And I think I can win. And I just want to say hello to Andrew and the kids back at home.
Well, our sympathies to you, and grandpas are really special people.
It's been a tough month for the NASCAR family. Now, besides Joe's grandfather, one of our NASCAR statisticians, Russ Thompson, lost his father, Noel, who was 90 years old. And Russ told me his dad's first race was the 1955 Indy 500.
And we need to add to that list, Jeff, you'll remember him, this guy here, Cliff Timberman, who's been a Goodyear tire buster for over 30 years. He finally lost a bout with cancer. And probably the biggest news this week in NASCAR, Melvin Joseph with Dover Downs International Speedway. Great guy.
Played a huge part
passed
up there.
away, yeah. And, so our condolences go to all of these families.
Right.
In the
Very
28
much so.
car, Derek Cope took his time. Currently 7th fastest out of 7 cars.
Yeah, he only ran 1 lap and kind of cut it quick right there, but he's guaranteed a starting spot tomorrow. Saturday, I should say.
Just to follow up on what Casey Kane was talking about, coil bound, they're running these cars so soft in the front, and there's obviously space in between the coils of the spring, and you travel them so much that the coils go together, and it's like a solid spring when you go off in the corner.
And that will upset a race car as well as a driver's focus on the racetrack. We watch Ryan Hemphill in the 4-car make a run here.
Former go-kart racer out on the track now at Geico Dodge.
He was only 45th quickest, and if you hear that car, I talked to these guys, and I think he's going to bring it in. I talked to these guys during practice. They were fighting a miss, and they had changed fuel cells, they changed carburetors, fuel line, and I do not think they have found the problem because it does not sound good at all.
Yeah, something still sounds amiss on the 4-car.
And once again, the problem is these cars will be impounded. They will get no more laps before the race on Saturday.
Well, they're trying to sort out their problem. Let's go down to the grid and Steve Burns.
And Jeremy Mayfield's fast in that 6 car. Matt, how about that race car? Do you feel comfortable or fast or both?
Man, I feel real good with it. Our Hellman's Mayonnaise Dodge was real good right off the truck, and the guys work good together, and the car's driving great. It's one of the cars we finally put our body on ourselves in-house there, and the guys done a great job on it. They've been working hard on it, I know, but it's paying off for us.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeremy. We appreciate it.
Like we mentioned before, Jeremy trying to make his first ever NASCAR Busch Series start here at Texas, and this team really had a great run last week on the Cup side. There you see Ray Evernham looking on. Now let's take a look here, Larry Mack, at the 4 car. We think something may have fallen off.
He's driving off into turn 3.
You can see it.
Yeah.
It looks like it looked like maybe one of the exhaust pipes.
Almost, but it was strange.
It was either one of the exhaust pipes, or it may have been, I don't think it was one of the exhaust pipes. It may have been one of the aluminum rocker skirts or something that's below the car. Let's look at it one more time. I'm not sure. We'll get a look at it here in a second, because I'm sure NASCAR is going to send a safety crew out there to try to pick it up. Looked like some type of steel bar or something.
Larry, the axle came out of this thing. Go back and look right here. It shot right in this area here. The axle is gone.
It sure is. The right rear axle. And all that holds that axle in there is a little old aluminum cap with 3 Allen bolts. And evidently they maybe didn't have the bolts tight on that cap. That cap came off, and I'm sure he had his hands full, because as he was trying to slow down, only one wheel was pulling the left rear. That's exactly what it was.
He did a very good job of not wrecking that race car, because a lot of times when you lose that kind of feel, again, if you notice when these guys move away and the NASCAR official continue to stand in front of it where he can get a real good shot at it, but he lost the right rear axle out of that race car.
Sure did.
And while they sort that out, we're going to check out more here in Texas as Tony Stewart talks things over with his team. There's Elliott Sadler. Back in Texas, qualifying at a standstill while NASCAR officials check out the racetrack. Tony Stewart, the fast man so far, followed by Jeremy Mayfield, Casey Kane, Jerry Robertson, trying to make his second Busch Series race this year. Very solid time. And David Stremme rounds out the top 5. And let's check in with the fast man, who's with Steve Burns.
Hey, thanks, Matt. And Tony got a win at Daytona to start the season. Now you're atop the board. Are you going to stay there? A lot of guys think the 32 and the 9 have something for that.
Yeah, there's more than that small group there that's got a shot at it. But, we picked up 0.4 of a second from our bonsai run earlier today. So, we ran faster in race trim than we did in qualifying trim before the end of the practice session. So, really excited. The Outdoor Channel car and everybody at Kevin Harvick Inc., they're doing an awesome job. And it's just so much fun to come run for these guys, because they're all just being a young group like this, it's their first year together. They're all learning each other, and I'm learning them. We're all learning together and having a lot of fun with it. So hopefully it'll stick up today.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It looks like you're having a lot of fun in the Busch Series. And the Cup Series, for that matter, but a lot of fun here.
Yeah, I got a bunch of young kids that are still learning on this team. It's pretty bad when you're 33 years old and you're one of the older guys on the team, but we got a bunch of really young kids that are, just starting to make their mark in NASCAR as crew members, and it's just so much fun to watch these guys each week. I got a great group of guys with my Home Depot team, and those are all veterans that we're working with over there. But it's so much fun to watch these guys, and when they make mistakes, pick fun at them and just watch them laugh about it. So we're having a lot of fun today.
So you're the mentor then? You're the leader of the group?
Yeah, whatever.
Let's go to Dick Berger.
Well, Dale Jarrett and Elliott Sadler share the number 90 Busch Series cars. Both drivers love this racetrack, and well, they should, because both of them have won here in Nextel Cup competition. But only one could drive the car this weekend. Elliott, how did you talk DJ out of this ride?
Well, DJ had to miss a very important golf outing when he had to drive that Monday at Bristol. So I figured, we switched with him. I came down a day early since we had to do this all on Thursday, where he could catch up with him, play a good game of golf today in North Carolina. I'll be down here in Texas riding around. So we kind of switched off.
Okay, this is a fast racetrack. You say it's your favorite. How close to wide open can you run this place?
We're going to be wide open for qualifying. I might trail break a little bit, but my foot will never come off the ground. I hope not. I didn't make a qualifying run in practice. We just did all race runs with the City Financial Ford, but my gut tells me from years of experience here in the past, just hold it wide open, it should stick.
Isn't that a bit scary?
I don't know. I like this track, so I like the speed of it. I like the sensation you get. So maybe I'm too young to be scared. I don't know. It's a cool place to race at, and I've got a pole here before in the Busch Series, and sure would like to add another one to it. It'd be great.
Well, we all like watching you. We're darn glad we're not in the car with you.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, gosh, I'm having bad visions. What racetrack were we at where Dick Bergman was running around trying to convince everybody they could qualify running wide open without lifting the throttle?
I hope it was Daytona.
I think it was in Atlanta about a month ago. So,
I think it was Atlanta.
Yeah, now he's down there doing it again, and you can see when that axle came out of Ryan Hemphill's car, the rear end grease went out the axle tube as well, and that's what you see NASCAR doing, trying to clean the trail of rear end grease, and they definitely want to get that cleaned up because, as we talked about in the opening of the show, these cars will be driving off into that turn 3 well over 190 miles per hour.
Yeah, see NASCAR official working it with it. But guys, I want to go back and talk about Jeremy Mayfield in that 6 car, and there's the owner right there, Ray Evernham, that they have been working, and this has been kind of like Ray's pet project for this year. He has really worked very diligently getting this program back up and getting it on track like it needs to be. And he is really having a lot of fun trying to tune everything out. He feels like this is kind of like his golf game. The other day listening to him, he says it's his golf game. It's his way of relaxing and everything. And I believe our buddy Steve Burns has caught up with him. And Steve, I mean, I just think I want to see him smile and talk about how much fun he's having with this race car.
Hey, Jeff, they're having a lot of fun. In fact, we're in Texas, so we have some Lone Star horsepower. A.J. Foyt IV talking to Ray Evernham. And, I was just thinking, Jeff was talking about your Busch Series program, and we hear so much about driver development these days. Is AJ in your plans or just a Texas visit?
No, he's actually one of the guys that we're looking at. He and I are talking about trying to put some plans together. We've talked to the Unilever people. We think it'd be great. Obviously, he certainly comes from a family with that background, but we're looking at maybe a little bit later in the year doing some testing with him, getting him up to speed, and we're looking at some tracks that he's run at with his IRL car to make his debut.
AJ, you've got experience in the IRL. You're a young racer. What do you think about NASCAR up close and personal? What are your thoughts about it?
I mean, obviously it's a great sport. This is definitely where it's at right now. It's one of the biggest sports in the world, and for me to get into it would be a big deal, and especially with a team like Evernham, and just like we said, working on a couple of testing, and so hopefully I'll have my chance.
Hey, Ray, also talk about your development deal with Erin Crocker. She was very impressive in Nashville in the ARCA race.
Erin's doing a great job. She really is. We're bringing her along slow. She does not have a lot of pavement experience. I always tell everybody, first time she ever did a restart was when she was leading the ARCA race at Nashville. She's fast and she's good. She's here doing a lot of PR work for us. She's got 5 more ARCA races for us and 3 Busch races for her. We're still trying to pick her schedule, but she'll do 5 ARCA and 3 Busch, and she's driving Casey's Silver Crown car. So hopefully we'll find something to get Erin a lot more races next year.
All right, thanks a lot, Ray. Appreciate the time. AJ Foyt, thanks. Appreciate it.
And I talked to Ray. He was so excited after that ARCA race. Erin did such a great job.
Yeah, we were there that weekend, and I mean, I was very impressed, especially she was not tentative. I mean, when she had an opportunity to try to drive that car down to the bottom of the racetrack and get underneath and make a pass, she did it. And when the car got away from it, I thought she did a really good job of not, overcorrecting and making mistakes. And she wound up coming home with a decent finish, and I think learning a lot.
Well, 47 cars are here this weekend. Now, these are the guys that need to qualify on time, and you can see highlighted in yellow some Nextel Cup drivers, Mark Martin in the 9, Kansas in the 17, who has a crew chief change this week. Kyle Busch in the 57 making a rare appearance, and we talked to Joe Nemechek earlier, and Elliott Sadler and Michael Waltrip.
And pretty much all of those Cup drivers that are attempting to qualify this race, with the exception of Kyle Busch and Michael Waltrip, all those guys have won Busch Series races here. And Kyle Busch came awfully close a year ago by finishing second.
Now, one of the big stories at Atlanta was an issue during qualifying with Reed Sorensen. He's second in points coming into Texas. And Dick, does he have a problem again?
Well, right now the car is in the line and getting ready to go through inspection. What has happened to you this afternoon, Reed?
We just had some problems in practice, and after practice we had to change the clutch, the bell housing, and the starter and the flywheel. And during the whole practice and everything, the guys had to push start it, so definitely had to change that before the race. And we'll get through the line here in a minute. We should be out there in a second.
Car going to be okay to qualify?
It's not going to be any worse than what it was. I'm not sure it was too good to begin with, so we'll you know, it's not going to affect anything we were doing. But, you know, I think we get a top 10, and that's about all we're going to get out of it.
Okay, we wish you well. Thank you.
And I talked to him, Jeff, during final practice. He said that his biggest issue during practice, he was fighting exit. He just couldn't get the car to turn up off the corner. But he has had a great season so far. 1 win, 1 pole, 5 top 5s, and his average finish is 8th. That's why he is second in the championship standings.
I think the thing that's missing from that graphic, he's completed every lap of competition this year, which him and Carl Edwards both have, and that's the reason they're at the top of the points.
Both of these so-called rookies have really been doing an outstanding job. But let's go a little bit further with Reed's story, though. Got a chance to talk to Tony Santana-Cola as we get a chance to see Carl Edwards right there, the guy's leading the points right now. But what he did, actually, they bottomed the car out so hard that it knocked the starter ring, just ground all the teeth right off of the flywheel, and he wasn't too happy about that, guys. If you can imagine hitting hard enough to grind the teeth off the flywheel, having to replace it, you don't realize how much damage that could have done maybe to the crankshaft and the bearings of that engine. So Tony's already said, we have an engine problem that could be the culprit.
Same thing happened to the man that almost had the Southern 500 won about 2 years ago, Greg Biffle. The car was bottoming out so bad during the race that finally the starter ring ground off.
Our championship leader, Carl Edwards, you saw him watching on. He has some time to wait. He doesn't roll off until 37th. He was 11th quick in practice earlier today. We'll be back with more in a moment. Tomorrow night, IROC Racing returns to speed. It's the Crown Royal IROC Series from Texas. It all starts at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on the Speed Channel. What a great race we had at Daytona. Mark Martin. I mean, it was, you know, one that you just look back on, and I was talking to some guys from the IROC crew yesterday, and they're like, man, we can't wait to come back to Texas. Danny Lasowski last year, probably one of the best smoky burnouts anybody's ever seen. In fact, Kurt Busch told Danny, look, I don't care even if you originated it, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to duplicate it because it was so cool.
Oh, it was very cool, and we take a look right now. We see the guy the fastest on the time charts right now, and that's Mr. Shane Meal, and I believe that Steve Burns, are you there with him?
That's a fact, Jeff Hammond. Your hair looks great, Shane. A lot of guys, more importantly than talking about your hair, they're talking about your race car. They're saying you're the fastest guy here in practice.
I don't know. That guy that's won 34 Winston Cup races and 70-some Busch races.
That Martin guy?
Yeah, it's Mark Martin. We go out 45th, and this helps us right here. If it gets any cool, I think we can probably run a 30 or so. So if they beat that, they can have it. But we'll see. The Winfield Chevrolet's been good all weekend. It's as good in race trim as it is in qualifying trim. So that's what we're here to do, is win the race, not the pole, and maybe we can win both of them.
Shane, last time I talked to you at Bristol, you were hot. Is that in the past? Is that something that is not even in your frame of mind this weekend?
No, and I hope it's not with Dale Jarrett either. You know, I hope that's something he's still not thinking about. That's a 5 lap to go heated racing moment that I definitely didn't do purposely, and sorry I hurt him and hurt his fans. You know, I get a lot of hate mail and stuff like that over that, but you know, I'm here to race. You know, my sponsor likes the way I race, my owner likes the way I race. Sometimes I don't like the way I race. I tend to lose my mind, but I just love racing in NASCAR Busch Series, and that's what the Busch Series is about.
All right, thanks, Shane. Appreciate your honesty. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
With 25-year-old Clint Boyer, you have one start here at the Texas Motor Speedway, but you tested here as well. What have you learned about this place?
It wasn't a good start, but we did test here last year, and it did qualify 6th, so it was some good things, but been struggling a little bit, you know. Started out the day, showed up here without a driving suit. It's a good thing my truck driver is the same size as I am, so I got
You're all set, aren't you?
Yeah, we're good. Guys been working really hard on the car, and you know, done a lot of changes to it. So hopefully we'll put up a good lap here and start somewhere towards the front and have a good race tomorrow.
Well, I've been getting in a lot of trouble for asking drivers if they're going to run their qualifying lap wide open. Would you mind if I asked that question of you?
Well, as of before, no. As of now, you never know. Run the first lap, see what we got, and then if it's good, we might try that.
All right, that sounds like a good strategy. Thanks.
Now, Jeff.
You see what happens, guys? You give a race car driver a weekend off, and he forgets what his job is. He's got to have a race uniform every time he shows up. I mean, you wouldn't show up here without a business suit, would you, Larry, for Sunday's performance, would you?
I wouldn't show up without my speed
That's
shirt.
right. I mean, come on, guys.
Now, don't give Shifty a hard time. He's third in points.
I know he's
They're
third.
under a lot of
season.
pressure.
Well,
give him a break.
Hey, he's a race car driver. What do you expect?
Tony Stewart calling in to Delana Harvick, telling her that he is the fast man so far here in Texas. Friday, Bud Pool qualifying live on the Speed Channel, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The NASCAR Beyond the Wheel, Friday, 6 p.m. And you guys got a big night, 7 p.m. live trackside. Then NASCAR this morning, Sunday, kicks it off 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Pretty impressed with our lineup for trackside. I think we'll have Elliott Sadler. We're going to have Kyle Busch, Ricky Rudd, Casey Kane. Big lineup.
All the sexy guys. All them sexy guys. I mean, what do you say?
Now,
Great lineup. Guests aren't bad either. Right?
Yeah, that's
Casey
true.
Kane, one of the 50 most eligible bachelors, People magazine last year.
That's right. That's right. Well, it looks to me like the jet dryer, the jet blower, however you want to call it.
They're parking them.
Is headed back to his place on pit road. And the thing is right now, what you've got to worry about is for Sterling Marlin, he's got to trust that these guys did a really good job as he gets ready to drive off in that corner, as we keep talking about. Wide open.
Absolutely.
I think they actually put Sterling in the pace car. See the pace car coming back on the pit road, actually the pace truck, and I think that's possibly what they did, is let Sterling go out there and look at the racetrack to where he'd have a comfort zone about it.
Yeah, you need to have some confidence when you drive off in that corner for sure. As you see him sitting there behind the wheel right now as they're getting ready to make a little bit of air pressure adjustment. That's a crew chief right there. He's getting ready to
Scott
jump.
Eggleston.
Yeah, he's going to go out and take a look for himself to make sure that everything is at least up to what he feels like is a safe condition. And that's what NASCAR strives for more than anything else, is to make sure that safety is the first and most important thing for any of these drivers or competitors.
Still, as a driver, in the back of your mind.
Oh, you got to worry about it. If it slips at least a little bit, you're going to say, oh, my God, it's still on the racetrack.
But I think Shane Mill hit the nail on the head. What a lot of drivers on back in the pack that's going to go out later is really liking right here is the fact that this racetrack is really cooling down. In fact, the entire front stretch is shaded. You can see over there the pace truck from the turn 1 to the middle of 1 and 2 is in shade. She's cooling down and she's gaining grip.
Now, you know, the air temperature from the start of practice to the end was about 15-degree difference. It was about 65 degrees when it started and almost 80 or so when it ended. That's got to be, as we're starting to work our way back later in the afternoon, it's got to work its way back toward how the conditions were at the start of practice this morning.
Very much so. So even though you see this going on, they should have a pretty good feel as far as the track conditions and what kind of benefit it's going to give you. And again, for Shane Mill, it's going to be really good for him.
And another guy making a start this weekend, Jamie Mack, who's with Dick Berggren.
Yeah, he is. And didn't I see one of those television magazines at the airport on the way down here that named Matt Yoakum as one of the most eligible bachelors in America? Pretty sure I saw that. Jamie, I've been asking everybody, you going to run wide open in your qualifying lap?
I'm certainly going to try. When race car drivers say that they run wide open, all of them give like a little courtesy lift getting in. They're lying to you if they say that they don't ever let off. But the shade that you see in turns 1 and 2, that's a big confidence booster for a driver. You know the track's cooled down that end. And the only problem that I had in my qualifying run was that the pedal travel is so much shorter on this Busch car than what I'm used to on my Cup car, that when I let up what I thought was just a little bit, it ended up being a lot more. So just got to be really careful to just barely let off and just try to stay on the bottom.
Okay, he's got the car that he won Darlington in last year, and he has almost won in Cup racing. Nearly won the race in 2003, but some lug nuts fell off, robbed him.
Now, Jeff, is that the difference between having a driver du jour, so to speak? I mean, this week it's Jimmy McMurray, 1 week it's Jeremy Mayfield. Is there swapping drivers around?
I think Larry Mack's been in this situation before, and I know I've done it several times. When you're doing the rotating driver deal, the revolving door, it is a very, very hard thing for the team to get right, because you want to make each driver comfortable. But there's only so much you can do with the amount of time. A lot of times, especially with the Busch team, swapping cars. You don't have 25 cars back at the shop. You know, you have to work with what you've got. So when you're changing the seats out and having to change steering columns, change the pedals, all the little things that make it work, sometimes it's really hard to get it exactly right for each driver. So you're going to have these little idiosyncrasies that they're going to complain about. And for a driver, I think, to be 100%, he needs to be, you know, totally comfortable in that race car. So right now, Jamie's telling me that it's good, but I'm still having a little bit of distraction as we take a look at Shauna Robinson, one of our one of the female drivers here at Texas this week.
But I think the biggest thing also on that ratio he's talking about is the ratio of how far he mashes the throttle pedal to how much the carburetor opens and closes. And a lot of that could just be he drives for two different operations. He drives for Ganassi in the Cup side, and this is Rusty Wallace Incorporated on the Busch side, where we were looking at Elliott Sadler a while ago. He drives for Yates in both series, and that makes it a little easier for him to have everything.
Is it almost like maybe a Tiger Woods having to adjust his swing for maybe, you know, a different kind of golf ball or something that maybe it's the same?
If you hand him a different driver, for example,
Right.
he's comfortable because he got his driver, it's made for him, and he has to change that maybe right in the middle of his game. That's going to mess him up a little bit. You know, he says, no, it doesn't. It's just a driver's a driver, but you know, it could mess him up a little bit. And the other thing is, guys, with some of the teams, they use what we call a direct link, and that means a metal rod on the heim joint hooked to it for the gas pedal to make it open and shut. A lot of the Cup teams today have gone to cable to try to make it smoother and everything. Again, it's a different field. The ratios, you can change them a lot different, and so that may affect the way the guy's rolling in and out of the throttle, and they can have a big play on what's going on.
Jeff, you talked about a lot of the Cup guys here. You see Robbie Reiser there in the sweatshirt, Matt Kenseth, Nextel Cup crew chief. A lot of the guys were just here hanging out today. I saw Todd Parrott over there hanging out with Elliott Sadler, trying to learn as much as they can about this tire package.
But Cully Bearclaw left the team. He's going with Denny Hamlin. So Robbie's here with Chad Norris, who last weekend was the car chief for Ryan Newman in the Nextel Cup Series. He's gone over. Those two are going to work together on this 17 Busch car.
Hey, I got a question, guys. How many races are we into this season?
7.
And they're already playing musical chairs?
Oh, yeah.
Car chiefs, crew chiefs. I mean, it's awful early in the season to be making changes.
Well, after 25 minutes, we're back under green condition for qualifying, and Sterling out on the racetrack.
Now, Sterling was pretty quick in practice earlier. He was 8th quickest at a 28.86, so this should give us a pretty good idea where the racetrack is somewhat at right now as far as speed. He goes through the area. You saw just a little bit of haze of oil dry they put down over there, but the car looked like it was stuck good.
Yeah, it looked like it got through there pretty good coming up the speed, which is always a good indicator when you're trying to go up basically 190 miles an hour.
So how different will the corner exit be from 4 to 2, because turn 2 is in complete sun, and 4, as you can see, is starting to work into the shade.
Well, you're going to have more grip over in turn 4, just like you're going to have more grip in turn 1. Now, Sterling's first lap is 29.26. That's quite a bit slower than what he ran in practice earlier by about 4 or 5 tenths of a second.
Best start this season with a 17th back at Las Vegas. Best finish, he had a great run going at Bristol, finished 5th. He, too, like Jeremy, trying to make his first Busch start right here at Texas.
He did have a good run at Bristol as he picks up just a little bit on lap 2, but not a lot. Right now, he's 6th quickest. A little bit of strategy. He comes on with a top 5 at Bristol.
He is way, way off as far as what he had practiced at earlier, guys. So I don't think he's going to be very happy. And it'd be interesting to see if the track has changed that much or if he was just being careful.
Well, if you're just joining us, we had a 25-minute red flag delay. Ryan Hempel had an axle come out on the racetrack, dropped a lot of liquid and fluid. NASCAR went out with the trucks, laid down some oil dry, blew it off, and now out on the racetrack, one of Larry Mack's favorite cars, the Boudreaux Button Pace car, number 7.
You've had 3 kids. You go through a lot of that.
Mark Green on the racetrack. Ran at Nashville and Bristol.
Now, Mark is one of the go or go home cars, and he was only 46 quickest in practice earlier out of 47 cars.
And Larry,
that engine's blowing up on that car at San Lameg. It's like it's missing almost.
It does not sound good at all.
No, it doesn't.
Off.
No, it does not sound good.
A good example, too, when you're talking about the grill taped up, you can tell by the fluorescent orange tape. He has that thing almost all taped up.
Yeah, he only ran a 30.41. Now, that's about what he ran in practice. But, Jeff, I think you're right. The engine does not sound right on that.
It doesn't sound sharp at all. It sounds real flat. Again, like Matt pointed out, he's got it taped up solid, and he's going for it. But the engine just really does not have a very crisp sound to it at all.
Only one top 10 finish here at Texas. That was all the way back in 1998. He finished 7th. See if he picks it up on his second lap. Does slightly, but he's not going to be happy with that lap.
I do not think that will get him in this show.
Dick?
With Matt Kenseth, who is a threat to win any time he gets into a race car at this speedway. He has won in Cup competition here. He has won in Busch competition here. And surprises, surprises, the guy with a reputation for not being a great qualifier. You even have a pole at this place. How much do you love Texas Motor Speedway?
I like it a lot. It's always fun to come here. The people are great here. It's a great facility. Always a lot of fans show up. So it's a lot of fun. We struggled with our Busch car a lot today so far. But then in practice, I think everybody, worked out real hard and got it a lot better. So hopefully we can qualify decent. But the main thing is the race good on Saturday.
Any change of crew chiefs this week?
Yeah, we got Chad Norris come over. I'm real excited about that. He's been doing a great job already. Just kind of got thrown in the mix on Monday, so he's just getting going. And Robbie's here helping today and Chip. So we got a great group of guys here. We're gonna get the deal revamped a little bit and hopefully get this waste management car victory lane a few times this year.
All right, wish you well with it, Steve.
And Dick, we've caught up with Sterling Marlin. Sterling right now up on the board about 6th. Were you happy with that, or could you have been faster?
No, we was 8th in practice and run 80 something, and somebody forgot to put the cap on the 4 car, the axle, and just slung rig grease all through 3 and 4, and so we slowed down. Slowed down about 4/10. I thought we'd run about 60 or 70, and got a real good car. And we just luck of the draw. The guys didn't do the job on the 4 and threw oil everywhere, and we're the next car out, so wasn't nothing to do about it.
Sterling saw a report last weekend when we were in Martinsville that you're pretty sure you're not going to be back with Chip Ganassi. Haven't heard your reaction or your thoughts about that yet.
Yeah, I mean, far as I kind of know, I guess they're going to have some kind of release or something. I don't know. Press conference, something. Really still kind of in the dark about it, and really hadn't talked to Chip on it, so we'll just wait and see what happens.
Thanks, Sterling.
Okay.
Randy LaJoie's second lap will be the fastest, but it's only quick enough for the 9th fastest time.
He didn't really slow down from practice earlier, but he really did not pick up either.
And again, we keep talking about the racetrack. You just wonder if that oil down in 3 and 4 is gone, or is it if it's really kind of like intimidating these drivers. We'll have to kind of like watch and see, because again, we thought that the racetrack cooling off would be a big benefit for these guys, but we're not seeing it yet. But if there's anything to be benefited from, this man right here, Joe Nemechek, is going to show us.
He was 3rd quickest in practice earlier.
Won here back in 2003 and really comes in 4 straight top 10 finishes, and this is his kind of racetrack. The 1.5 miles, the Charlotte, the Atlanta, the Texas. This is his type of layout.
Always has a really good setup package, good aero. Carl Wagner builds good steam, good horsepower for these racetracks. So I think this will give us a good indication exactly where the racetrack somewhat stacks up right now.
He definitely is not afraid to let the rough side drag, guys.
18 NASCAR Busch Series career poles, 14 in the super speedways.
28.66. He goes to 2nd quickest. That's a little bit of a pickup from what he ran in practice. Now remember, we've been seeing some cars pick up a little bit on that 2nd lap, and he's less than a 10th off Tony Stewart with that 1st lap.
He's flat cranking her up right now, Larry. He looked really good off of turn 2, and he drives her down right to the bottom of the racetrack in 3 and 4. Let's see if he can bring her back home.
As he brings it out of 4, let's see if he can knock Stewart off the Busch pole.
No, actually slows down quite a bit on lap
3/10. Well, let's go down to pit road and Dick Bergman.
Well, every race driver has a reputation as being brave. Greg Biffle has a reputation of being among the bravest of the brave. Is that a help here at Texas, where the speeds are so high?
I think you definitely have to be brave here, and especially qualifying a race trim. My car's really loose, Duraflame car, but Newton, the guys did a good job bringing a good car here, getting it ready. So I feel good about a lap. I don't know if I can do that at the top of the board. I don't know if it's quite that fast, but we'll see. I think we can get a good top 10 start spot and be good for Saturday.
Okay, hang on to her out there.
I'm going to.
Now, I don't know why Dick just didn't get a Sawzall and just cut out the middle portion of the cowboy hat, so he could have worn the hat on the air with his headset.
You would have thought he could have been a little more creative.
Well,
that. Hey, the reason I didn't do that is Hammond's hat. And I could imagine what would happen
really
if I
good reason,
cut
Dick.
Jeff Hammond's hat and then had to listen to him up there for the duration of this qualifying show. I think
for the duration of the qualifying show. How about the duration of the rest of the year?
Guys, look, let's not worry about the hat, Dick. You could have done whatever you wanted to it, my friend. It would be okay. I could always get another hat. But let's take a look right now at what's happening here with Mark Martin. Hey, guys, he just went to the top of the chart right now with a 28.56. I mean, he has just really blistered it, and he's still got another lap to go.
3 Busch wins, 1 Nextel Cup win right here in Texas. Let's see if he can improve his first lap.
And remember, 2 Busch races this year, 2 wins, and guess which car this is?
The same
car.
Imagine that, Larry.
See if he can pick it up a little bit. He picks it up ever so slightly, but right now that first lap was good enough.
Man, that's impressive. Those 2 laps are so close.
1/100th of a second between each other.
2 of his 3 wins, he started from the front row.
But did you notice how that race car was basically on a rail, Larry Mack? I mean, he just held it out close to the wall, arced it off down to the bottom of the racetrack, and it never bobbled. It just stayed right around the bottom. And again, I never heard him crack the throttle. Did you?
If he did, it was one of those, what did Jamie call it, a courtesy lift?
Courtesy lift.
Brandon Miller back in the 21 car this week. Kevin Harvick will sit out, but he will be back in the car for the next 2 races. And then Brandon comes back at Darlington.
They don't mind throwing him in the wolf den, do they? Talk to Brandon a little bit today. Really a neat guy to talk to. He knows he's got a lot of big learning curve. They came up here and tested with this car, and like he told me, he said, we're gaining on it. Every lap I make around this place, it has to be intimidating to these young drivers.
But you know what? He's part of that RCR driver program where they split duties in the 21, and Clint Boyer said the biggest change for him this year, he was in the 2 car week after week. That consistency is what you need, and every lap you can log, it's a learning experience. His first lap, 9th quick. 29.25 seconds.
A little bit of a pickup.
Picks up just a little bit. That's all you want to see out of a rookie driver, is just get him comfortable and let him go out and just pick it up just a little bit, my friend. If you can, everything will be good.
I'll tell you, this team right here with Kevin Harvick, when they've had him in there, 4 second-place finishes, the win at Bristol, and he started 38th in Bristol. And I read a stat that Bill Sloboda sent me this week that I was pretty impressed with. That's the worst starting position for a Busch Series race winner in 311 races. The last guy that started worse than that was Chad Little at Daytona in February of '95. He started 42nd to come back and win the race.
Bill Sloboda is a legend, so if he said it, it must be true.
Steve? You don't have to look it up. We already did, Steve.
Thanks, Larry Mack. We caught up with Joe Nemechek, the winner here in 2003. Did you leave anything on the table there, Joe? Did you get everything it had?
I was going to ask Larry if he saw me out there and wheeling that wheel. I was pretty good through 1 and 2, but I got to 3, and it's like I hit a slick spot. I don't know what, if it's oil dry or the oil that was left there, and it just turned sideways. And that was my good lap, so I definitely left quite a bit out there. It got so loose I had to come all the way out of the throttle. And whenever you do that here at Texas, you're going to give a lot of speed away. So I think we could have been close to Mark, but I just got way too loose there.
Has your heart rate slowed down yet?
It's slowed down now. I mean, I'm kind of used to this place. We'll run well here, both cars. Tomorrow, I think we're going to be outstanding in our Army car, but today our 71 car, 3rd. I think it'll be a top 5 run. I mean, you got to get after it here. It's incredible how fast we go here. So my hat's off to Mark, but we could have been there. Thanks, Joe.
On the racetrack now, Clint Boyer, the 2 car. He qualified 6th here 1 year ago, making his inaugural Busch Series start.
Yeah, I was reading some of Bobby Hamilton Jr.'s quotes this week about this racetrack, and he said, you know, it's not scary. It's just darn fast.
Well, he's right there with Brandon Miller. A 29.30 second lap to Miller's 29.23. Let's see if he picks it up. He does. Picks it up 2/10. And Steve Burns is standing by with the fast man so far here in Texas, Mark Martin.
And Matt, speaking about reading of quotes, Mark, I read this week that you said Texas suits your driving style. I'll say
you can get in the gas here. Just a great car here. The Pennzoil Platinum Ford's awesome. This is the car that we ran the other 2 Busch races with this year. I want to thank Jack Roush for letting me build that car the way I wanted to, and of course Pennzoil for backing us. And this is really going to be a lot of fun.
Mark, you've won 3 races here in the Busch Series. What is it about this racetrack that you like so much?
I get to drive fast cars. That's what I like about it. That's the main thing. I like fast places. I like places where you can go racing, and I think you can do. I think you can do it here. The second groove has come in pretty good, and we'll see. We've got a lot of great race cars out here, and these things are hard to win, and we've been fortunate enough to win 2 of them. So you never know what this weekend might bring.
Thank you, Mark.
Larry Mack, Reed Sorensen knows a lot about speed. His average start this year is 10.
Jeff looking at this car, Brian Patty, the crew chief, he has her down on the ground right now. He's fifth quickest, 28.88.
Saw just a little bit of smoke from underneath the car, and I'm just wondering maybe if they've got everything clearance like they need to, or if it's still dragging the racetrack just a little bit with it as he enters these corners.
And he ran a 20.85 in practice, so he pretty much has backed that practice speed up. Let's see if he can pick it up a little bit. Seen some cars pick up, some cars slow down. He picks up quite a bit, but only picks up the one position, the fourth quickest. But that's a good pickup of 2/10 on lap 2.
And when you look at the theme this year, look at the top of the championship standings. I mean, you've got Carl Edwards, a rookie, and Reed Sorensen, top 2 drivers in the championship standings, and they've had quite a season.
And then Clint Boyer is right behind these guys in third. And don't forget Denny Hamlin, who's pretty much seeing every racetrack for the first time this year. He's sitting back there in 8th points. He's completed all but one lap of competition. So a lot of young guys. In fact, I read this morning where if you look at the top 10 in Busch Series points right now, and you go back a year ago at this same point, there's only one driver that's in the top 10 now that was in the top 10 then, and that's Martin Truex Jr. Bill Sloboda gave me that information.
These young lines are just
He is a wealth of knowledge, isn't he?
You know, y'all keep talking like that, and Bill will never be able to get out of this booth because his head will be too big.
Elliott Sadler on the racetrack now in the 90 car.
This team really struggled in practice earlier. They never really made a qualifying run, but they just could not get the handle on this race car.
Nation will be coming up in its entirety live right here on Speed Channel. We are delayed a little bit here in qualifying, so if you tuned in for that, stay tuned. Ralph and the gang will be coming up shortly.
Now, Elliott Sadler had a great first lap. He's 6th quickest, and he elected to shut it down. I know this was one of the teams we were talking about tires earlier. This is one of the teams, and Elliott pretty much made the call. I want to qualify on brand new sticker tires. I do not want to scuff my qualifiers. And so he elects to go with just the one lap. Figured that was quick enough for one lap.
But he also may be looking at the big picture too, Larry. I want to win the race. This may give me a better opportunity. Let's do it this way. Don't want to heat cycle those tires too many times.
There you go.
Well, Elliott Sadler turns in the 6th fastest time at this juncture. Coming up is Jimmy McMurray. And Dick is with Michael Waltrip.
Yeah, man, I can look up to, and I do for many reasons. Mikey, we got a new tire here. Stickier? What's it feel like?
It feels fine. We started off with our Aaron's Dream Machine, and the thing just wouldn't handle it all, and the boys just did a great job getting us back into the ballpark. I was worried a lot about my car, worried a lot about the tire, worried about speed, worried about whether I'm supposed to run wide open or not. Thanks for all your investigating. Did Mark run wide open?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
Okay, we need to find that out. But I'm not worried about my taxes because I got them done at Jackson Hewitt.
All right, good for you. Let's go back upstairs. Thanks, Mike.
What does taxes have to do with running wide open, for Pete's sake?
Whoa. You know what date is? You know what Saturday's going to be? Friday.
Actually,
the 15th.
Actually, if you wait until Saturday, you're in trouble.
But I'm going to ask my question again.
Anyway.
What do taxes have to do with running wide open here?
I don't know, but Jimmy McMurray just jumped up to 5th.
Pretty good lap. 28.77 for old Jamie Mack.
And he must have figured out how to make it run wide open. What do you think, guys?
No, he gave it that little
courtesy lift.
Okay, all right.
Let's see if he picks it up on his 2nd lap, Eddie.
He picked it up quite a bit from practice because they only ran a 29.04. Picks it up just a little bit. Just a little bit, lap 2.
And on top of that, you asked me a question like that when they're talking to a Waltrip?
Good point. Maybe we need to go to break.
That may be a good plan. Mark Martin still leads the way here in Texas, followed by Stewart and Nemechek. Solid lap by Eric McClure, currently 9th, and Larry Mack, he's right on the bubble of making the show.
Yeah, we need to mention of our go or go home cars, Mark Martin, Joe Nemechek, and Elliott Sadler. They have been bumped into the field, and right now, as you mentioned, Eric McClure could be the next one to be bumped in.
5-car, Blake Feast on the racetrack, and Steve standing by.
And Matt with Clint Boyer, and he's going to unfortunately break a streak of 4 straight top 5 starts. What was wrong with the race car, Clint?
Just a little bit loose. We've been fighting loose, ever since we got here. But, it should race really good in the long run. That's kind of what you need. But it needs to be a little bit tighter and run a little fast lap. So we're going to have to work on something for a short run. But it should be really good on a long run. The AC Delco cars, it's running good. It's just got to get that loose inside of it.
Thank you, Clint.
And he's absolutely right, Jeff. You know the nature of this place. The further you go, the more rubber gets down on the racetrack. The car wants to push worse and worse. So I think looking ahead to the race, being a little free right now probably be pretty good.
And he's currently third fastest.
Blake Feast in the final.
Hang on to it, brother. He got loose down the middle of that corner, guys, and did a really good job of saving that race car, because if he'd have corrected the wrong way or tried to save it too much, they'd have been going for a backup.
This will be his 10th NASCAR Busch Series start this season. Best start was 2 races ago, the 8th at Atlanta.
This is his 3rd start of 2005, sharing this ride a lot with Boston Reed. That's a good lap for Blake on that first lap.
Good lap on the first lap, but better save right there. Is that Elvis standing in the crew?
No, it's his buddy, Martin Truex Jr.
Oh, okay.
Defending series champion.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And a guy who's trying to win the championship this year is standing by, and that would be Reed Sorensen with Steve Burns.
Hey, Matt, we've got a twofer. We've got Reed Sorensen and Jamie McMurray.
Now
How about that?
That's a combo platter.
That's a Dodge combo platter. How about your qualifying lap, Reed?
Well, this is my first qualifying at a place like this where you can almost hold it wide open.
Almost?
Almost. I didn't quite do it. Our car just really hasn't been good enough to do it all day, and I don't want to say I was scared to do it, but I wasn't going to wreck the car trying. And I got out of it a little bit in 3 and 4 and got back in, and I think I could have held it wide open down there. But you know what? For what we've been running all day, that's about where I thought we'd be, and we'll probably end up around 10th or something. So we'll just have to see how it does in race trim.
Let's get Mr. McMurray over here. How about your qualifying effort? Did you have a courtesy lift, or was it a sincere lift?
No, you know what? I literally I ran wide open, but when I hit the bump in 2 and 4, my car bottomed out, and I just had to let off a little bit. But to run with a 9 and 33 and those guys ran, it's got to be literally wide open, because for what I let off, I'm 2/10 off. But I'm really happy with that. We like a lot of these guys, work on nothing but race setups. But I told them today it's the best car we've had all year. They went back and cut the body off this car, or at least the front end off, and have put a complete new front end on it. So it drives better than it ever has. So same car we won Darlington with. So looking forward to the race.
Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Back upstairs.
And Matt Kenseth, he's one and done. His lap good enough for 9th fastest. And when you look at Texas, we've talked about it so far there, Mac. The Roush guys, they just do so well on this type of layout, whether it's trucks, Busch, or Cup. You can see the win column. Jack Roush, as an owner, has 1 win in truck, 4 in Busch, and 3 in Nextel Cup.
And what's impressive about those 3 wins in Nextel Cup, it was with 3 different drivers. Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, and Matt Kenseth.
And one of his Nextel Cup drivers, he doesn't own the team, but he has this driver under contract, and that's Greg Biffle on the racetrack.
Now, with that lap that Matt Kenseth ran, that bumps him into the field, and right now Eric McClure is on the bubble in the 52 car to get bumped in of the go or go homers.
Best start this season for Biffle and Busch was a 10th at the sister track of Texas, Las Vegas.
Greg was 6th quickest in practice a little earlier to 28.82. See what Newt Moore and the boys have put together for Greg to lay down a qualifying run here. 28.60, 3rd quickest.
Inside that car, he looked awful comfortable there, watching his hands and everything. He looked really smooth through the corner, and again, it was like he's one and done also.
That's good enough for the Biff.
Most of these Nextel Cup guys say, you know what, if I run fast on that first lap, it's good enough for me. I'm in the show and I'm ready to race.
Park it, let's put a cover on it. Back in Texas, Shauna Robinson had taken the green flag, but Larry Mack trouble down in 3 and 4.
Yeah, she drove it off into 3, and we've been hearing a lot of these drivers talk about their car being loose, and I think we'll see it right here, Jeff. You can see she goes off into turn 3 at the end of the backstretch, and she's a go or go home car.
She's too high.
Right there, and yeah, she was about a half a lane too high. It just comes around, and this is a hard hit. Thank goodness for the safer barrier.
And take a listen to this.
Ooh. That is a hard lick.
That's a lick and a half right there, guys.
And that's why Freddie Aldis has won so many Emmys.
Yeah, that's awesome right there. But it looked to me, and you I'll have to talk to Shauna about it, but coming in trying to arc it down like that, I just wonder if maybe she got another one of those patches of slickness that have not, weren't cleared up very well, and just around it would have come.
That will bump, though, Eric McClure into the show, along with Mark Martin, Joe Nemechek, Elliott Sadler, and Matt Kenseth of our Go or Go Home cars.
You can see the disappointment, frustration for Shauna Robinson.
Well, Shauna had been like 33rd fastest on the practice sheet, so I mean, it felt like she had enough race car. I'm sure she's thinking the same thing to get in the show, and it just didn't work out.
She walks past Kenneth Campbell, her crew chief. Well, she's disappointed, but Blake Feast, he has to be very happy with his qualifying lap, Steve.
And Matt, actually very surprised. He said the first time he went around this place was in a rental car with David Green earlier today. Pretty happy with that.
Yeah, especially after practice. I didn't know how fast the Lowe's Stay Green Chevy was going to be. I was concerned. Pays to have teammates. I'm glad Kyle and Alan are here. Jim and Alan talked it over. We went with a little bit of what he had. We never made a bonsai run in practice. We were just so tight in race trim. I said, you know, let's work on it in race trim, and I'll just try to bust off 2 laps. So Kyle said he was going to flat foot it, so I tried, and I think I may have lifted a little the first lap, and I tried flat foot the second lap, and we about had to roll out the backup car. So I get the guys that work back at the shop will be happy to know I didn't tear up a car. So we're looking forward to tomorrow. Hopefully we're good in race trim tomorrow.
I believe Larry McReynolds has a question for you, Blake. Go ahead, Larry.
Hey, Steve, all right, we know he ran fast in qualifying, and now he's finished with that race car until Saturday. But what I want to know is in the morning, in 15 seconds, he has to see how many words he can read out of a children's book. And I want to know how many words he thinks he can read in 15 seconds.
Larry McReynolds was talking about the thing you're doing with reading for kids. How many words can you read in 15 seconds?
I don't know. I wish I could do something else for those kids. I really do. I've never been much of a reader and really didn't like when Mom read to me when I was little. So they gave me the book today, and I was actually studying it before I came out here. Looks like I'll be reading a lot before I qualify in the next few weeks. So going to get some rest tonight, go back to the hotel room, study that book, and get as many books for those kids as I can.
A lot of pressure, right, Blake?
A lot of pressure.
All right, let's go to Dick Berger.
Well, Kyle Busch has a new sponsor here, and his new nickname as a result of that sponsor is the Exterminator. And last year here at Texas, he about exterminated the rest of the competition. Won the pole, led more laps than anybody else, finished second. You got a car good enough to do that again this year?
Well, I certainly hope so. We worked all on race trim here in practice this morning, and we look forward to it. You know, the Spectre side load Chevrolet has been good all weekend long so far, and I'm hoping that I can keep this big old ugly ant up front so nobody has to look at it in their rearview mirror. But if so, you know, we'll be coming up charging through the field, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, it's a special promotions deal here for Fire Ant Killer with Spectre side. Hopefully we can keep it up front. We're going to have a lot of fun here.
And he's 19 years old, so he's not scared of this place at all. Let's go to Steve.
Well, Dick, you talked to Greg Biffle before his run. Let's talk to him afterwards. Were you pleased with that effort?
Absolutely. You know, really excited about that start spot. It's cooling down, and, you know, some people are having troubles right now, so might get a little later in the night and cool off some more. But, hey, I think that's going to get me in the top 10. The Duraflame car and Newton, all the guys just did a good job on getting it ready to qualify. A little bit too loose to be faster than that, and that makes me excited for the race.
Hey, Greg, I was talking to Newt earlier this afternoon, and talking about the struggle as a team, as a crew chief, as a driver, how you guys juggle how much time and attention you place on qualifying versus the race. There's no activity at all tomorrow here for the Busch Series.
Yeah, we try not to really spend any time qualifying. You know, I mean, we want to qualify well, but we have 2 hours of practice, and we want to really concentrate on the race. You know, that's what's most important. They don't pay us anything for qualifying, of course, but you need that decent start spot. But since we're qualifying in race trim, if you get your car pretty good in race trim, shock package and whatnot, normally if you tape it up and just do the standard things to it, which is all you can do anyway, you're going to be okay qualifying.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Now, you talk about pressure on Blake Feast. Last year, Kyle Busch took the speed read challenge, and 40,000 new books went to the Washington, D.C. area. Boston Reed's going to do it in Phoenix, so there's a lot of pressure on these guys.
But it sounds like he has the book, and he's practicing.
Yeah, that's all you can ask a guy to do is just practice a little bit.
Well, let's take one more look at Shauna's crash.
And remember, this is over 190 miles per hour when that car came around with her, and it happened so fast, and you see how hard it hit, and that is with the safer barriers.
And the safer barriers. Dr. Harry Sicking received award, the Vision Award here at the Texas Motorsports Hall of Fame last night for this very thing, the safer barrier.
Well, Jeff talked about it earlier in the show, how these cars run right around the bottom of this racetrack, and when that car gets loose, it's a long way that it travels up there to that safer barrier when it finally hits.
Well, it's a big weekend of racing here in Texas and a big weekend across the Fox Racing networks. Qualifying tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern on Speed. Then the IROC Series goes back to Texas, 8 p.m. Eastern Friday night. Then Saturday, Nextel Cup Series practice on FX at 1 p.m. And then over on the Big Fox, 2 p.m., the O'Reilly 300 presented by Mr. Clean Auto Dry. And then Sunday, kick it off, John Roberts and the gang, 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back on the Fox at 12:30 Eastern. And then JR closes out the weekend of racing, NASCAR Victory Lane, 8 p.m.
Texas, 8 races, 8 different winners, and I have a hunch we may see a 9th different winner, especially when you look at names that have not won here, like Jeff Gordon has never won at Texas Motor Speedway.
And look back to Casey Kane last year. And Tony Stewart says somebody rocks. I bet that would be Martin Truex's car. It is. Dick?
It is indeed. You are so fortunate to get that autograph. Not everyone gets that.
Yeah, I feel pretty fortunate. Hopefully it turns our luck around a little bit and I get some of his. I don't know if it's that good either, but...
Well, you were fast in practice, 4th quick. Are you quick enough to be able to grab the pole?
Well, that lap was, when we unloaded this morning, the car was really good when we got here, and then we got tighter and tighter throughout practice and never could get it freed up. So it's cooling off, and we went back towards where we unloaded, and I think our best pro Chevy will have a pretty fast lap in it. I just hope we can have it free enough for Saturday. It's a little tough with this impound rule to know what you have. You only have 2 hours of practice and you race 2 days later. So I think we'll get a good lap in today. I'm just really worried about Saturday.
That's why Bono gets paid. So, trouble on the racetrack.
Changing Healy around, goes through the grass, see if he keeps it off the wall.
He keeps it off of the wall.
Joey Chitwood would be proud of him.
Terre Haute.
Now, let me tell you what the big story is here. Let's go back 2 weeks ago at Bristol. This car was not in the top 30 in owner points. So this right here would have sent him to the house after his run at Bristol. He moved into the top 30 points. So even though he did not complete a qualifying lap, he'll get to race on Saturday.
Yes, go ahead.
Let's take a look at this, Larry Mack. Comes out of 4.
A little bit high up off the racetrack on the exit, Jeff, and the car, a lot like Shauna Robinson, just in a different area, just came around with it.
Even though we're saying this racetrack should have a lot of grip to it going that fast, if you miss your mark just a little bit, if the car's not quite right, it goes up the racetrack that little bit. He's probably trying to hold it down, and he just will not do it, and around it comes.
But I think you heard Greg Biffle talk about it. Is these cars, they have them set up a little free, knowing that's how they have to have them to race, and it's just too free to go out there and run a wide open, taped up, solid front end qualifying run.
But if you notice, guys, you see the roof flap right there. I think it's what you were getting ready to say, Matt. It's still stuck up, and that's one of the things that NASCAR does. It has like a double, you see the little yellow piece in the corner, it's still got the flap held up so that it doesn't sit back down, and he'll have to come back down on pit road to fix that, obviously. But fortunately for him, he doesn't have to go to a backup car.
Well, the good news, he kept it off the fence. The bad news is going to ruin his streak. He qualified in the top 10 in all 5 super speedway races in 2005. He qualified on the outside of the front row at California and back at Atlanta. You see the roof flap up there on the 18 car. And they're going to send the cleanup crew out to take a look at the racetrack and see how much grass and dirt is out there due to J.J. Yaley's little run through the field. Tonight on Speed, there he is in the cowboy hat, Michael Waltrip. See how the chips fall in the Michael Waltrip Celebrity Poker Tournament, 9 p.m. Eastern. Right here on Speed.
You know, with Dick Bertram's hat, Michael may let him play.
You think? Well, let's talk to the yard man, so to speak, here at Texas Today, and he's standing by with Steve.
Hey, Matt, JJ had a pretty wild ride, but the good news is you kept it off the wall. What happened?
It's really hard to say, the car was really good through 1 and 2 there and went into 3 nice and comfortable, and
for some reason, the Vero Home Depot car just jumped sideways. You know, I don't know if we possibly ran over something from that crash. It might have got a tire. It was a pretty big difference between turn 4 and turn 2 there. But, you know, I kept the thing out of the wall. That's the most important thing. We'll bolt some new tires on it. Hopefully NASCAR will credit us something for that. So we'll be okay. We're not too worried about it. The car was good in practice, and, you know, race trim we weren't too bad. So we'll just say hi to my wife at home. She's doing good. She's 6 weeks ago in pregnancy, so everything's fine here.
Well, good luck there. Thanks a lot, JJ. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
With Carl Edwards, and you were standing up on top of the truck watching him go around. You had some practice here today. What's this racetrack look like to you?
Well, I think it's going to be pretty neat. I think that Brad did a good job drawing our qualifying position. I think there's a little more shadow on the track. Temperatures go down. It'll probably free us up, but at the same time, it'll make us faster. So I was just kind of leaning on Mark a little bit. That lap was unbelievable, and he told me what he did, and I just don't know if I can do it.
What did he do?
I can't say it on TV, but no, he just said he had a whole lot of throttle in it. He didn't say it was completely wide open. I think it would probably take a wide open lap to beat that. I don't know. We're having a good championship run, and Brad really wants to race this car, so I don't know. We'll try to do the best we can.
All right, bring her home in one piece. Let's go upstairs to Maddie.
So I guess he's saying he's not going to keep her flat-footed the entire lap.
I think he's going to use some common sense is what he's trying to tell you. Mark Martin used a lot of throttle. Yes, he held it wide open. As we take a look at Johnny Sauter, Larry Mack, that car is bobbing out awful hard through the middle of 1 and 2.
But a great lap for Johnny in this one car, 4th quickest. And I know this team struggled. Now, he will not get to start 4th on Saturday. What this qualifying run is for is to get pit selection, because these guys had transmission problems, had to change the transmission, so he'll have to go to the rear of the field for the race. But that's a great run, especially when I watched how much they struggled in practice.
Picked it up on the 2nd lap as well, Larry Mack. So where do you want to pick a pit here if you're in the top 5 in qualifying?
I think regardless, you want to pick somewhat down near the end of pit road. But we know we tend to have long green runs here, so somewhere back up about the last opening leaving pit road to give you a little bit of distance to get up to speed. I think that's probably optimum pit selection. Pit road's pretty wide here. It's not a big place
wide
you can get
here,
in trouble.
and you really want to try to figure out a way to make sure that the guys around you more than anything else don't hurt you, so your driver can get in and get back out on pit road with no problem at all. And we take a look at Michael Waltrip bringing his number 99 car to this green flag to start his qualifying effort.
He's got it all going on. He's running marathons for the Victory Junction Game Camp. He's playing poker. He's got a tire rub down in turn 1 and 2.
Real bad rub right in front of that car.
Michael was 19th quickest in practice earlier at a 29.07. Of course, Michael is one of the go or go home cars.
Right there on the bottom. Best start here in 8 Texas races, a 4th back in 2002.
That's what Michael doing.
Pretty good lap.
Good lap. Ninth quickest right now.
28.77.
Put him in the field.
And once again, all of this tire smoke, we see that pretty consistently. And what it is, it's a lot the tires rubbing up in the top of the fenders because the car's traveling so much with the greater speed entering the corners, and then the tape on the nose, which puts more downforce, pulls the front of the car down. Michael can pick it up a little bit on lap 2. He picks it up quite a bit, the 5th quickest. 28.
Real happy with that.
And just to follow up on what Carl Edwards was talking about, because I get asked this a lot, is how does NASCAR select how the cars go out to qualify, the order they go? Well, what they do right before practice starts is how you are in points. You go to the NASCAR trailer, and they have a little old bingo pill box that they roll, and you select it by how you are in points, and that tells you where you go out and qualify.
Michael Waltrip, a good qualifying lap, and that hasn't been a good part of his program this year. Daytona qualified 15th, 24th at California, 29th at Atlanta, and 37th 2 weeks ago at Bristol. So this is a much-needed good effort by that team.
And he actually even missed a race during that little run right there, too. So definitely a good turnaround for him. He'd like to get this Busch program back on track as we take a look now at Paul Menard. And here's another group right now. They've been running really well, but can't seem to close the deal out this year so far.
He's fast off the get-go, good qualifier, 3 top 10 starts in 2005, but like you mentioned, has to put together the entire program, every section of the race to close the deal.
He was 17th in practice earlier. Car looked pretty solid.
Yeah, pretty good through there.
19th quickest for Paul at a 29.21. That's actually about 2/10 slower than he ran in practice earlier.
Let's see if he can pick it up on his second lap. And Jeff, you look down in turns 3 and 4, you can see the shade is slowly moving more into the middle of 3 and 4.
Moving around more and more, but I've heard several drivers talk about, even though it's getting
he about ran
ran
out of racetrack there off turn 4 on the front stretch.
Put it right up next to the fence. Jumps up to 12.
What a pickup.
Good pickup.
28.85, almost 4/10 pickup on lap 2 for Paul.
I guess he was just feeling her out on that first lap, and he really brought her together on the second. That was a good pickup for him.
Qualified 20th here 1 year ago and finished top 15, the 14th position. And Dick is standing by with a driver who has a new crew chief this week.
Yeah, last year for this Busch race, a guy named Matt Kenseth won the race. Cully Barraclaw was his crew chief. And for this race, you got him, Denny Hamlin. He is your crew chief. Have you got the winning setup from last year under this car?
It's pretty close. Definitely, it's got the marks of it. You know, we weren't all that fast in practice, but it was one of those deals where we turned our fastest lap 40 laps in, so I kind of felt like Matt Kenseth there for a little while. But I got good faith in Cully. He's brought a great car, great setup here, and look for us to be somewhere around 10th to 15th in qualifying, and in the race we'll definitely be towards the front.
All right, we'll be watching for that. Matt?
Michelle Jourdain on the racetrack. Now, if you're tuning in for NASCAR Nation now, just lock down the remote on Speed Channel, because Ralph and the gang from Charlotte will be coming up shortly. We've had a little bit of a delay in qualifying. They will be live from the studio, so just hang tight. The gang from NASCAR Nation will be coming up shortly.
Great run.
lap.
Great run for Michelle Jourdain. 5th quickest, 28.61. And this team, Michelle Jourdain, they just keep getting better and better each and every week. Remember, he's seeing most of these racetracks for the first time, although he saw this racetrack once at the tune of over 236 miles per hour in a Champ car several years ago.
Yeah, but he told me today when I talked to him in the garage area, trust me, it's a totally different feel. These cars move around a whole lot more and do not give you a secure feeling like those open wheel cars do, for sure.
But at the high-speed racetrack at Atlanta, his best race so far this year, qualified 6th and finished 10th. To Steve.
Hey, Matt, Johnny Sauter had a great qualifying run. Hey, Michael Waltrip, come over here. You're a broadcast professional. You interviewed Johnny.
Johnny, how was your lap? I watched you qualify. We went out after 2 cats had spun out. That makes your nerves a little bit on the edge because you got to go so hard anyway. I'll get to my point in a minute. When you ran your first lap, you let off the gas a lot getting into 1, and then the second time you run it on around there. That made me feel good. It made me think that, well, he was checking it out, and then it was good, and then he went. Did that remotely describe anything that just happened to you?
I'm too busy looking at that soul patch, I guess what you call it. But, you know, first lap actually was like a 62, and the second lap was a 61. So, I mean, they were real similar laps. You know, Team Yellow Fleet Pride Dodge was good, but my dad came over to me this morning in practice and said, man, you're running way too high. You're running way too high getting in the corner. So we worked on bringing that down a little bit, and I feel like that probably helped me a lot.
How do you feel your car will be when you go from this qualifying trim into the race? Do we have to end now?
Your question was way too long. You have to go back upstairs.
Let's send it up there to those cats up there.
Get a raises.
See my soul patch? It's not in the center, Johnny said.
It's off to the left.
Off to the left.
He needs...
Well, it may be a little bit off center, but that kind of, I think, fits Michael.
Kind of like Kenny Wallace's lap there. A little
I know I was
off-center.
off-centered on lap 2 of Kenny Wallace, but a decent first lap for Kenny. 15th quickest at a 28.88, so he's good to go.
A great lap by John Wood in the 47 car, jumped up to 3rd. And this team really has started to come together, and it began at Atlanta. His best start this year was a 4th, so he's really rolling along, 10th in the championship standings.
Yep. Starting to get a little bit of consistency about it. Really strong qualifying and putting together some pretty good runs during the race.
We talked about J.J. Yaley in the 18 car moving into the top 30 in owner points after Bristol. This is the team that he replaced, 36 car Stanton Barrett. So this is a go or go home car. And that first lap, not a great lap, 29.91 for Stanton.
No. They had some problems because they were scheduled to go out a lot earlier. They were supposed to qualify 13th, so he was excused, and now he's going out 27th. It may, you know, pay off a little bit here if he can just pick it up some on the second lap.
We've seen some guys pick up on the second lap. Let's see if Stanton can do it.
I know they were fighting an engine miss in practice earlier. They pretty much, a lot like Ryan Hemphill, the 4-car, were changing pretty much everything on this car trying to zero in. And he picks it up. That lap will bump Jerry Robertson into the show on Saturday, though.
Steve?
Hey, Matt, and Larry McReynolds was so impressed with the job Michelle Jourdain did at Atlanta. This is a similar kind of racetrack and a good qualifying effort for you here.
Yes, I'm very happy to practice. This morning started pretty bad. At the end, qualifying, we made some changes, and in qualifying, the car was better in qualifying trim, and I think the temperature helping us, but I think like the car is getting better. You know, I'm very happy with my Taurus Ford. Hopefully we can get another top 10 tomorrow. That would be fantastic, and I feel like things are getting better for everyone in PPC Racing.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Defending series champion Martin Truex Jr. on the racetrack, and comparing 2004 to 2005 to the first 7 races, very similar, a win apiece. But you can see that he's down 2 top 10s compared to last year. His average finish about the same, and he's mirroring pretty much where he was in the championship standings 1 year ago. But this team really, they felt like after Mexico City, Larry Mack, when they won theirs, he jumps up to the fastest man so far. A great lap, currently on the pole.
28.47, 189.6 miles per hour.
So does he keep his foot in it and see if he can better that, or Larry Mack does he say, okay, I'll just roll out of it?
Well, I'm not going to say he can't better it, because we've seen several cars pick up. He's fighting. You can see him down in there turning off turn 4, that the car was starting to lose some grip. So I don't know if this lap.
He killed it before we got back to the start finish line right there. She jumped out from underneath him coming off of turn 4. But
great first lap.
Great lap for Martin Truex Jr. This team really needed this.
Picked up about 3 or 4 tenths from practice.
Steve?
With Kenny Wallace, and Jeff Hammond told me, I couldn't see it, but he said you had your hands full out there. Are you thirsty?
I was a little loose. Man, did I save that thing up. I was too loose coming to get the green flag. That surprised me. It wasn't like that in my mock run, but the save after the white flag, I had to get all over the brakes. So, I don't know, 17th, 18th, that's a little disappointing, but, you know, I think we have a really good car.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
That was great.
oh, Lordy. What do you do with him, guys? I mean, really, what do you do with Kenny?
I don't know.
Do what Steve Burns did. Keep the interview very short.
and just think, tomorrow night on the IROC broadcast, Kenny and Rusty Wallace will join Mike Joy in the booth.
And as Mike was telling me, it's Mike, Rusty, and Kenny. The Wallace brothers.
And one of the Green brothers on the racetrack, David Green.
Not a great lap for David, 29.14. That puts him right now 21st quickest.
12th in the championship standings. Now, last year he came into Texas, he was 2nd.
Getting word this racetrack continues to really cool down in the shaded part. Turn 4 all the way almost to the middle of turn 2. It's down in the mid-80s, and it was well over 100 when the qualifying started, about 105 degrees.
One top 10 start this year so far for David Green, and 8th at Fontana. Currently 18th quick here in Texas. You see Martin Truex Jr. talking to Kevin Bono-Mannion, a high five, Ricci and the guys.
You're right, though, Matt. Something like this could be what this team needs. They had a very rough weekend at Bristol, ran pretty good, got caught up in a wreck, finished 31st, and that ended his streak of races without a DNF at 42. And they failed to finish at Bristol.
They really felt like Mexico City, that was going to be the jump start they needed for their title run, like Bristol was last year, as he battled this guy on the racetrack now, Kyle Busch, who's running a limited deal.
Hang on, bro.
And he backs him in the fence.
Now, what's bad about this, he is a go-or-go-home car, so this will be one of the cars like Shauna Robinson that will not make this show.
And Larry, he was coming through there, and he got just maybe a little bit high on the exit, and all of a sudden you could hear it, literally, brake traction when the back end came around on this car.
Because he had not completed a lap.
But you can see the damage to the fire ant car. Kyle Busch, 2nd last year. He pretty much rewrote the record book last year. Let's take another look, Larry Mack. he did take the green flag.
Starts coming around, but he stays in the throttle, tries to keep it off the wall, but there's just no way.
There is no keeping it off the wall when you get loose, headed up the racetrack off of turn 2.
And Larry Mack, you could see the change in the air pressure. The tear-offs on the windshield blew right off.
That is a hard lick, very hard lick.
Another look here, Kyle Busch.
He's way up out of the groove right there. In a minute, he got up above the black stuff, which is out of the groove. The car just came around with him, no grip whatsoever. And so this Busch ride here that was put together for 4 races for him, they will not race at Texas on Saturday.
Now this is real time of Kyle Busch.
Just listen to it, guys. When he gets ready to come through the corner, you will hear the car just literally break.
Back over in turn 2, he knew he was in trouble when he was up that high.
He caught the very end of the safer barrier. 2 starts this year, qualified 2nd at Daytona, 3rd at Las Vegas. And he, like you mentioned, Larry Mack, he's one of those go or go home drivers.
That will put Brent Sherman in the field, though, and put Stanton Barrett on the bubble.
Like Kyle told me, he's not going to pick up a lot of information that he can transfer to his Cup program, but it's just lap after lap, getting in that zone of running here at Texas. We'll be back with more after this.
It's about talent, sportsmanship, and fame. Only the best earn the title of the Speed Channel Driver of the Year. This quarter's nominees are Craig Delansky, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Kanaan, Steve Kenser, and Dan Weldon. Log on to SpeedTV.com now and cast your vote for Driver of the Quarter.
It's time to cast your vote. Log on to SpeedTV.com to cast your vote for the Speed Channel Driver of the Year. Now, when you look at Carl Edwards' flip, that was about a 7.5 because it wasn't like the Busch flip.
It was a lot better on Saturday, but he ran about 200 more miles on Sunday.
Exactly. You got to factor in that fatigue factor.
Have to give him a little bit of credit there.
Well, guys, can I ask you both a question? Can y'all do it without running? I mean, I can't. I'm impressed. I mean,
I didn't say I wasn't impressed.
Yeah. You know, that's pretty impressive.
He did say, I heard him on John Boy and Billy, a nationally syndicated radio show earlier this week. He said that he's actually wiped out doing it and hit his head.
I wonder, guys, if Steve Burns can do one. What do you think, Steve?
Oh, no, but I do have Martin Truex Jr. here. And, Martin, you walked up and said, well, that's like a win. Talk about your emotions of that good qualifying effort.
Well, it depends on who's going out. I hope it's not Shane, but no, just an awesome effort for all the guys. You know, we've had a tough year so far. We've had some bad luck, and you know, our cars haven't been the greatest, and we've been pretty hard on the guys all back to shop. But you know, nobody realizes how hard they've been working, busting their tails day in, day out, trying to get us cars better. And you know, this is just a tribute to them. Great lap. Bono and the guys did an awesome job with the car, and I'm just real proud of all of them for sticking with us.
Thanks a lot, Martin. See if it holds up, and then we go to Dick Berggren.
With Kyle Busch, who has been kind enough to hang around and have some conversation with us. What happened out there?
I don't know. You know, it's really a shame. You know, the low spectre side Chevrolet guys, they were really looking forward to this weekend. And, you know, myself and Alan being able to work on the Busch side just to get some little extra experience again. And, you know, it's just a shame deal that happened to us. I was just going through 1 and 2 and just started to breathe it because it was trying to go up the track a little bit. And I think I just got it too far up the track and might have hung the right side out in the gray a little bit. And as soon as you do that, you don't have any much traction left. So, I just feel so bad for these guys. And they come out here and they work so hard and give me the greatest cars in the world, and I destroy them for them. So it's just not good on my part.
One thing you can be assured of, this young man will get every ounce of speed that there is in a race car. Matty?
Aaron Fike in the 43 cars on the racetrack. Now, the good thing that he can do now is just to go back to his motor coach, put this out of his mind, and he can watch NASCAR Nation, which is going to be coming up following Busch Series qualifying.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Kyle will be awfully good here in the Cup race on Sunday, qualifying tomorrow. Aaron Fike's first lap, 29 28.95. Now he picks up to 29.75, but right now that's not good enough to get in the field, but that will bump Stanton Barrett into the show for Saturday.
Yeah, bad news for Aaron, but good news for Stanton, and it puts Aaron right there on the bubble, so he's still got a chance to get bumped up into this race.
Jeff, as I was walking through the garage area earlier and talking to some of the crew chiefs, I was seeing and hearing something that we've not seen or heard of a lot this year, and it's the fact we've heard the drivers talk about in the race, the cars really want to push. They want to shove the front end on the corners. And one of the things that you can do is run a rear sway bar. And a lot of cars in the garage area had a rear sway bar. That could be biting these guys, because I don't think you'd, under normal conditions, you'd ever think about qualifying with the rear sway bar here, but it really stiffens the rear spring rate, makes these cars loose on the exit of the corner.
It really does, and when the car twitches a lot of times, Larry, you know yourself, it'll break the back end loose a lot quicker. And if he didn't have a rear bar in that car, it could have contributed to getting him up the racetrack. When it finally kind of set out, he couldn't catch it, and when it did, it was gone.
And Timmy Fedewa in the 12 car attempted to make his 320th NASCAR Busch Series race, dating back all the way to Darlington in March of 1992.
Kind of struggled in practice, and not a real good first lap for Tim. 26 quickest at a 29.51. That's about a 4/10 pickup from practice, but still not where I think they'd like to be.
Well, they'd like to be for sure, but at the same time, anytime you can pick up 4/10, that doesn't make it all bad. And you know, again, he's got a second lap here, and like a lot of guys, they've been able to pick it up a little bit on the second lap. We'll see what he can do.
Picks up another 2/10.
It doesn't move up the rankings, but it does move him up as far as speed's concerned. So, I mean, that's a pretty good pickup from practice to here overall. So, encouraging as far as, you know, maybe Tim Fedewa and his team's concerned. I know they had some bad luck so far the last few races.
You know, and if you look at his car in the center of the corner, how far up off the white line his car was compared to Mark Martin or even Martin Truex.
No question, when you go to qualify, if that car's right, you'll be right around that white line.
Carl Edwards, championship point leader, average finish this season of 5th. These guys really are having a stellar season. Brad Parrott and the boys.
Well, that 60 car was right on the bottom of the white line coming off of turn 4, guys. Let's see what he can do through 1 and 2. He's up just a little bit, but he gets it right back down there close there. It doesn't look very happy right now, does it, Larry?
No, it does not. All the way up against the wall, late exit turn 2. Carl, earlier in practice today, was 11th quickest. He ran a 28.94. You can see how much of turn 4 is in shade, and all the way down the front stretch. Let's see what Carl's first lap.
Much better through 3 and 4.
Pretty good lap. 28.62.
Carl really settled down through 3 and 4. There's a bump down here in 1 and 2. It looks like it's kind of running him up the hill just a little bit. Again, he uses a lot of racetrack off of 2. Almost got into the wall.
4 top 10 qualifying efforts so far this season. 2 poles. He's going to have to pick it up a lot to get a 3rd, though, Larry Mack.
But I'd be willing to bet, regardless of where he starts this race, this is the same car he won with at Atlanta when he did that first backflip.
Outside pole.
He picked her up.
He picked her up.
So he'll be awfully tough on race day.
Big 2/10 there. Jumped him up to 2nd fastest so far here in Texas. Martin Truex Jr. currently on the Busch pole.
And you know what, guys? We're talking about Carl Edwards and Martin Truex, but we still got some awful fast cars to come yet. The guy who was the fastest in practice, he still hadn't been out on the racetrack yet, and the conditions are getting better each time we take a look at the 8 car that's been autographed by Tony Stewart.
And what did he say?
Maybe a little bit of luck might rub off.
That's what he needed. He goes, hey, if a little bit of luck rubs off, that's all we need.
Whatever it takes.
There he is, the championship point leader, Carl Edwards. He loves running the double duty schedule. Anytime he can be in a race car, he loves being behind the wheel.
But guys, think about his age and everything like right now. He keeps talking about it, but how much fun has it got to be? You're getting to do what everybody wants to do in the United States that loves racing, drive race cars both on Saturday and Sunday. How much better can it get?
And this kid loves driving race cars too. Denny Hamlin, new crew chief this week. 15th fastest on his first lap. Let's see if he can pick it up on his second.
28.85. That's a good 2 or 3/10 pickup from what he ran in practice earlier. Sitting 8th in the points.
And really, he's picked it up in qualifying. The last 2 races, he's qualified in the top 10.
The car's very solid right now, guys. Really good looking. It's holding a real pretty wheel inside the car.
Picks it up quite a bit, up to 8th quickest for Denny Hamlin in the 20 car. Good run for him.
And they are tied, Johnny Sauter and Denny Hamlin, so Hamlin will qualify 7th at this juncture.
And they just flipped it on the scoring monitor here, and the tiebreaker is whatever car is highest in the owner points, and the 20 car is higher than the 1 car.
And there's the big smile.
This team been so solid this year. Of course, the same team that Greg Biffle was so solid with last year. Brad Parrott, the crew chief, and they've not missed a beat.
Not one bit.
And Justin Labonte on the racetrack now. Last night here at the Speedway Club, he inducted his father, Texas Terry. You can see the car bottoming out, Jeff, into the Texas Motorsports Hall of Fame, which benefits the Happy Hill. It's a place kind of like the Victory Junction Gang Camp, but this place is for kids that are having issues in their home life. It's a great cause.
That's got to be a great honor for Justin to be able to do that for his dad, you know, coming from the great state of Texas right now. He's 3rd quickest right now. Great job by the young man. You still see the sparks coming out in the back of the car. So, Larry, this makes you wonder, what could he have been a little bit quicker? He hadn't been bottoming out.
Yeah, if you bottom out too much, you know, at these speeds, it can be a distraction. And I think someone told Justin just how fast he ran and said, you know what, maybe that'll be good enough.
Hey, might have been a buddy of ours, Bill Engel.
Justin Labonte working on his 3rd top 10 start in 2005.
Could have been Dad Terry.
Could have been Dad.
Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Busch Series qualifying. The Texas Motor Speedway is brought to you by Winfuel. First ever multivitamin. Winfuel. And the 49 car on the racetrack. Now, Steve Grissom, he does have the opportunity for the past champions provisional.
So he will race on Saturday. We had 2 past champions that were go or go home, and that was Joe Nemechek and Steve Grissom, but Joe has qualified solidly into the field at 13th, so right now Steve Grissom would get the championship provisional.
Steve.
Hey, Matt, we caught up with Carl Edwards, and you said that was pretty scary without wrecking it, but now can you tell us what Mark Martin told you?
Yeah, he told me that he only lifted about half throttle and only for a second. So I went in the corner there, and I wanted to lift all the way. I was like, oh, Mark did it. So I didn't lift very much, and that was the freest race car I've ever qualified and not really messed up. So that was fun. I'm pretty excited about our Charter Ford's chances on Saturday, and I can't thank Jack Roush enough and Mark Martin and Matt Kenseth. It's awesome to have this many Busch cars here and have guys to bounce things off of, but heck, I'm proud of my guys. That was a good effort for us.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
And Jeffrey Bodine in the 72 car jumps up to 29th.
And I tell you what's really good about that run, that he was a go or go home. That puts him in the field, but a lot like Johnny Sauter, he will have to start at the rear of the field. They spent almost the entire practice session changing the engine in this car. They had engine troubles very early in the practice, so when you consider not very much practice time, that's a great run for Jeffrey in the 72 car.
He has 3 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series starts here. This will be his first Texas Busch race. And Justin Labonte, a great weekend going so far. Last night at the Hall of Fame here at the Speedway, and in qualifying a few moments ago, Steve, 3rd quick.
Yeah, good run for Justin Labonte, and was just comparing notes with Carl Edwards. How important is it to you, Justin, to run here in the state of Texas, you know, where your dad and your uncle were so popular?
Yeah, it's fun. You know, I have a lot of great fans out here, and it's Texas. You gotta give it your all. And we had a good car. The guys giving the Coast Guard show was hooked up pretty good all day, and I'm glad to get a good qualifying run.
Carl Edwards said his car was wicked loose, but yours really wasn't that bad, you said.
No, it wasn't too bad. It bottomed out a little bit getting in 1, but I could still pretty much flat-foot it. So it was a good lap for us.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks.
Jason Keller on the racetrack now.
Jason was 30th quickest in practice earlier today. Jason been pretty solid, just nice and quiet, sitting 13th in the championship points right now.
3 top 10 starts in 8 races here at Texas.
29th quickest for Jason on that first lap at 29.23.
Has not led a lap yet in 2005.
A little bit quicker than what he did in practice. And you know, and that statistic you bring out right there, man, it surprises me about this driver right here, because he is usually at places like Nashville so good. I mean, at Bristol, so good. And I really expected this team to come together pretty quick and be stronger than what they are right now.
You know, he finished 6th in the championship standings last year, came close to winning at Chicago, but going winless ended a streak at 5 years where he'd won at least one race every single season, and he's currently 21st fastest so far in qualifying.
Pretty good pickup on lap 2. A couple of tenths, picks it up several positions. So right now, Jason is 21st.
And there he is, Martin Truex Jr. watching qualifying.
Kind of laid back and relaxed.
Got the cool breeze look right there.
His soul patch looks better than Michael's.
I can see there's Josh Snyder, his personal assistant.
Hey, what does a personal assistant do?
It's supposed to fetch food for you, line up fishing trips, especially when you have a sponsor like Bass Pro, line up fishing trips, different things like that.
So I'm going to be pretty safe in saying Fat Boy is not my personal assistant.
I would say that's a safe bet.
Careful. He's real high. Real high. Ashton Lewis was real high up off that corner there, guys. I seen that. The dust just flying. I don't think he wanted to be there.
Well, coming up live following NASCAR Busch Series qualifying here in Texas, the folks from NASCAR Nation standing by. Ralph, Kristen, the gang back in the studio. So just lock down the remote. Don't go anywhere.
Ashton Lewis, 32nd quickest on his first lap, 29.43. But remember, that was his teammate that just ran that picked up a couple of tenths on his second lap. Ashton wiggles a little bit up on the straightaway off turn 2. Let's see if Ashton can pick it up a little bit on lap 2. Sitting quietly 6th in the points. His best finish of the year was the 8th place finish at Bristol a couple of weeks ago.
That was also his best start this year. His first top 10 start of the season.
I'll say he picks it up about 6 tenths to 16th quickest, 28.82. Good pickup.
And now we've been talking about it. Shane Meal, Martin Truex Jr. watching the monitor, waiting for this car. Shane Mills, you're seeing the 25 of the Marines car. Ashton Lewis pulling down on the apron. 24 years old. He has had a top 13 start in 6 of the 7 races, all except Mexico, where he went from 26th all the way up to 4th. There's Martin.
It's been about 13 cars since Martin Truex qualified, so we certainly know that the racetrack has cooled down a little bit more. We're starting to see almost the entire turn 4 area cool down with shade. This turn 2 down the backstretch off into 3 is about the only racetrack that has a little bit of sunlight on it right now.
It's almost like a spring rubber or something.
Yeah, almost like that. Run over something down the back straightaway. But right now he's got it right on the bottom of that white line. That's where you want to be, bottom of the racetrack.
His lap in practice was 28.56. He needs to pick up a 10.
First lap.
I'll say 28.44. And he's going to shut it down, I think.
Good move. Still a great lap by Martin Truex. Outside pole, Shane Meal. On the inside pole, DEI horsepower. Richie Gilmore has had those guys working in the shop. And
yep.
Yeah, DEI horsepower.
Right now you got to look at,
row.
he did only one lap, guys, realizing that the cars coming up behind him should not pose a threat. So why gamble and take a chance on wrecking your race car?
Dick, I know he's disappointed, but he's still on the outside front row.
Yeah, he's on the outside front row. And are you aware no one's ever won this race from the pole, but it's been won from the outside front row a couple of times?
I'll take that. I'd rather win the race than the pole any day. But, yeah, congratulations to Shane. That was a good lap.
You wanted it, didn't you?
Yeah, that's good for us, though. DEI engines on the front row. Them guys are working really hard back at the shop, and real proud of them. So hopefully they keep it up, and so we have a good race Saturday.
Congratulations to the driver. You did a great job, too.
And there's the man, Shane Meal, on the pole. Takes off the gloves, undoes the belts. And everybody said he's the guy that you're going to have to beat as the temperature continues to go down here in Texas.
And I think it's only a matter of time before this race team goes to victory lane with the win. They're knocking right on the door each and every week.
And John Wood, who qualified 7th, his teammate Stacy Compton's on the racetrack now.
Stacy was 27th quickest earlier in practice today at a 29.27, and he's actually slowed down a couple of tenths, Jeff.
And he's going to be a one and done. Well,
Yeah, he really had to get out of the throttle big time over in 3 and 4.
Yes, he did.
Well, our fast man here in Texas, Shane Meal, followed by Martin Truex, Carl Edwards, Justin Labonte, and Mark Martin. Qualifying winding down at the Texas Motor Speedway here in Fort Worth, Texas, where Shane Meal is on the bud pole of Curtis Davis. While we were away, qualified 35th. David Reagan on the racetrack now in the 16 car.
Now that puts Curtis Davis in the 0 car in the field, and David Reagan just qualified for this race in this 16 car. Team came out here and tested, and so right now it appears that Aaron Fike in the 43 car, he's been on the bubble for a while. He will not make the show on Saturday.
Reagan, a 19-year-old, looking to make his second NASCAR Busch Series start. Made his debut at Homestead, the season finale last fall. Finished 31st.
Spent some time talking to David. Pretty impressed. His dad, Ken Reagan, used to drive in Nextel Cup, and his dad, he's over at 600 Racing. He runs the Bandoleros and Legends. David moved to Nashville, where this race car is housed, and works on the race car.
His dad made 50 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series starts. And we're locked in now, our front row starters for Saturday's O'Reilly 300. Shane Meal picks up his 4th career NASCAR Busch Series pole. On the outside, his first front row start this season, the defending series champion Martin Truex Jr. And our WinFuel winning edge fastest lap goes to the WinFuel car, Shane Meal. Scoring his pole, Steve Burns is with Shane.
Matt, it was a very emotional Shane Meal that climbed out of the race car. How did that feel, Shane?
It felt good. I mean, the WinFuel Chevrolet's been good all weekend, but everybody knows what happened 2 weeks ago. It feels good to come out here and be the fastest car, you know, in qualifying so far. We're the fastest in race trim, we think. We definitely got to beat Mark Martin, and I want to thank WinFuel. And we got new associate sponsors, the Fraternal Order of Eagles. They donate over $100 million last year to charity, so it feels good to have them on the car. WinFuel, looking forward to it. I love Texas. Maybe the people forget about the other thing and think about this.
I saw you talking to Martin Truex Jr. before you made your run. What'd you ask him? What'd he say to you?
Well, I knew how good. I mean, he's the defending champ. I knew my car was, you know, we both have DEI power, and I asked him how close wide open he run. He said he ran wide open, and so did I. Luckily, I must have better aerodynamics or something. But hats off to the guys at the shop. They built me a great body. Guys at DEI Engines. Todd Braun for giving me the opportunity, and I got a great crew chief and crew, so thanks a lot.
Good luck Saturday, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Back up to you, Matt.
Well, Shane Meal picks up his first NASCAR Busch Series pole since IRP Indianapolis Raceway Park, August of 2003.
A lot of youth up there in those first 2 rows, but I know what row we'll be watching when they drop that green flag. I'd say row 3 right there. Mark Martin, Tony Stewart starting side by side, Jeff.
Yep,
Justin
good job
Labonte.
right there. But Justin Labonte, I was going to say, great job for him from Texas.
Best career start.
Yep. How about Michelle Jourdain Jr.? I mean, again, this team right here gets stronger each week right there beside Michael Walton in row 6.
Reed Sorensen, he'll be coming to the front.
Matt Kenseth, winner here last year, starting alongside Kenny Wallace on row 11.
Cliff Boyer, RCR car, back in row 15. His teammate right behind him in row 16. Former series champion Randy LaJoy back in row 20.
It's good to see guys like David Reagan make a show like this. You know, he's out there working on that race car each and every day at the shop. And, of course, Steve Grissom getting the championship provision.
Ryan Hempel, J.J. Yaley, and then the past champion provisional, Steve Grissom.
J.J. Yaley's got to be feeling pretty lucky right now getting in the field, because he didn't get in the wall today and was able to get in the top 30.
Well, tune in tomorrow on Speed Nextel Cup Series qualifying 3 p.m. Eastern. IROC Racing at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Nextel Cup Series final practice 1 p.m. Eastern over on FX, and then on Fox, the O'Reilly 300 presented by Mr. Clean Auto Drive. And then Sunday, kick off your morning 11 a.m. with John Roberts and the gang, NASCAR This Morning. And over on Fox, the Samsung Radio Shack 500, 12:30 Eastern, to close out your day on Speed with NASCAR Victory Lane. And no, that's not Dick Berger. NASCAR Nation coming up next. Ralph Shaheen in studio. It's going to be a big weekend of racing. Shane Meal on the Busch pole. Ralph?